Thank you so much, Justina, and the whole conference team. It's amazing what you put together, and I'm very grateful to be here today. And this session, I hope you came because of the title, because I didn't provide any further explanation. And my session, Transforming into a Product Org, is about a deep shift. A shift from agile theater, going through the moves, to really value-driven practice. And many of us, many of you are already part of that shift. You are already moving away from projects toward true and sustained product thinking. It's not just a structural shift. It's also a cultural shift, and it's also strategic. I'm Katrin Wellmann, and I've been in the product development space for 25 plus years. I was a physical product developer in my first professional life, and for the past 10 years, I've been working in IT and change contexts, always employed with very big companies like Accenture and now again Infosys. And of course, our clients aren't startups, and they're most of the time not small and medium enterprises either. They are really huge corporate clients, banks, insurances, all through all the industries there are. The past 6 years, I've been a professional Scrum trainer. I was the first woman who came in over product ownership as a PST in Germany, and that's something that makes me a tiny bit proud, although I'm also seeing that Scrum and Agile and all of that is deteriorating when you look at what the clients are asking for. And because I always thought and always knew that frameworks aren't the answer, not to anything really. They may be a start, they may be an impulse, but they aren't the answer. I also became a systemic coach and change manager because I felt I needed those different tools in my toolbox. So that's just to set the foundation of you trusting in what I'm going to say. So the deep shift we're talking about, we've seen Agile, all of us, applied to the surface of things. We've seen events, or some may even still call them ceremonies, which points out the point I'm making, events without purpose, velocity without clarity, and efficiency without effectivity. So sometimes what I've seen, at least in many orgs, is change for change's sake, because it was a trend to be more agile. And that, of course, then didn't bring about the deep value benefits it could have. So product orgs, they don't optimize the wrong things faster. Product orgs really think differently. They build relationships. That's what's in their focus. Relationships with customers, with users, but also with the problem space they operate in, and with uncertainty. And that can be that deep shift that we are talking about, accepting that with uncertainty, we need to think differently. So let's come back to this from project to product. So a project, by definition, is meant to end. It's nature. But real value delivery, especially in complex domains, it really requires long-term ownership, because we want to have a relation with the product and its users. So that means stable teams who understand the domain, the user, even the edge cases that exist. So continuity is not a luxury. Continuity is really where insight lives. Many companies are starting to understand that since 10 years. We've heard it in 2 talks already today, that this move to product org is in many mouths. And one of the very well-known ones, best-selling author, Dr. McKirsten, he wrote about from project to product and said, yeah, changing an operating model, it's really hard. It's harder than doing other stuff. But you have to do it in order to be digital innovators. And to be honest, nowadays, if you're not, whichever field you're in, you're also a digital innovator, you're probably not going to be alive much longer as a company. So Infosys, the company I just rejoined in April again, really made a compelling case. And it laid out a compelling structure with its product-centric value delivery model. I'm going to show to you, I'm not going to dive really deep into it because we've seen product operating models, and of course, ours is special, and ours is really supported with the technological insights, but you're probably not here to dive into each and every tiny little thing. If you are, let's have a conversation later. So the PCVD, product-centric value delivery model, it is bound in the context of the shift to a platform ecosystem, a structured shift. This is what it looks like, and maybe to sum it up a bit, it emphasizes the long-lived teams. It emphasizes that we need to look very closely at the flow of value. And I agree with what Jürgen said yesterday, that the flow of value, the value streams, they might change, especially nowadays with AI. But we still need to look at them and then keep adapting. It also emphasizes that we need product alignment, and it looks at what a product is. It is a set of capabilities that creates value for a user. And in the end, it needs to be a measurable value delivery. We need to look at the outcomes we are creating and not, as in projects, the outputs we are delivering. And of course, as you see on the right side here, it's supported by accelerated engineering. We need Agile still. And we do need DevSecOps. We also go and implement site reliability engineering, life engineering. These are skills that, of course, a big, huge IT consultancy like Infosys can bring to the table that in former companies of mine, the smaller ones, we couldn't fully deliver. So all the transformation I was in sometimes suffered from this ecosystem, missing this ecosystem that I feel we are now being able to deliver. We've had 25 plus product-centric value delivery clients in the past 2 years. And of course, not each of them engages us to do all of the things you see in the model. But you start somewhere and then keep inspecting and adapting, as we Agilists know. So you might ask, by the way, where's Agile? Where's AI in that model? It's simple. It's not a separate entity. It's not one of the tools here, one of the engineering practices. It is a team member. And Agile is not, AI is not a feature, it's a force. AI impacts strategy, not just tech. So please allow me a short detour on AI, because we will have to answer the questions, who decides when we make decisions in product-centric value delivery? Who is accountable? So the role of product ownership, of product management might change and might need other skills as well. Ethics and transparency need to be built in from the very beginning into this model, but also into every product we create with the help of AI or with support of AI. So that's why Infosys came to co-create and put really much emphasis on responsible AI. That's why I also want to do this detour, because yesterday there were some questions. I think there was even an open space session on where are the guardrails, guidelines for ethical standards. Yes, they do exist already. We co-created them with the UNESCO. UNESCO created the AI ethics guidelines. You can find them under this link. We supported with that, and they were signed by 194 countries. the member states, and in 2021 already. So I hope, with the way the world is changing currently politically, that the countries, the member states who signed these guidelines will still feel connected to them and will still honor them. And I would invite every company that is represented here by you to also look at these guidelines and make them your own when you're working with AI. So of course, we want peaceful, just societies. It sounds so simple when you read it down. Environmental flourishing, human rights and dignity, and diversity and inclusiveness. Of course, I'm sure I'm not the only one who is worried that many countries and many companies are getting rid of all this fluffy stuff like human rights and diversity. I even read of a big German company, SAP, that discontinued their diversity program, and I was shocked because we shouldn't be following some American examples in this, right? My personal opinion, just stating here. Okay, let us get back though to the topic you came here, but this is just so close to my heart that I needed to bring it in. So let's be honest about what's in the way, because AI isn't it. AI will change the way we prioritize, how we serve customers, how we govern decision making. AI isn't something you plug into a product. AI changes, it shifts what a product is. And a responsible product organization needs AI literacy. And I don't mean technical skills. Yeah, sure, we need them. But I really mean awareness of the users, the data, the consent, and unintended consequences. But that's not what's in the way to become a product org. Most product organizational transformations stall, from my experience and what I'm hearing from other colleagues as well, not because people resist change, but because systems do. Many orgs, they still want, well, control, power, and not outcomes. We want empowered teams without redistributing ownership, really, and authority. And oftentimes we want to keep the way we fund, because we still fund projects when we should be incrementally funding that which proves empirically and iteratively, incrementally proves to be valuable by measuring the outcomes. So lean governance, something that we are all promoting for a long time, is really becoming more urgent, as I see it. We can't keep funding projects and then call ourselves a product org. So this disconnect we're experiencing here since the past 10 years, that might keep us still stuck a bit longer in the agile theater, in the performance. What we really need to do is really do this shift from frameworks to fundamentals. And I'm not going to say anything radical here. What I'm promoting is really fundamental. And we've created 10 tenets of the product-centric working model. I'll just going to go quickly through them, as a lot of that is probably very close and dear to your heart already. So we need the focus on business value. Yes, business value can be explained in different ways, but we need to be aligning business objectives that are really relevant and visible, and not just numbers. Value then is generated based on the customer experience, on the customer journey. And customer journeys can be orchestrated through value streams. So maybe that's even synonymous. Customer journey and a value stream. Look at it maybe with the back end, of course, but look at it that way. And then, yes, you can inspect and adapt your value streams. And value is realized and measured and tracked through the outcomes it delivers. So incremental funding of value streams, product teams, whatever you want to call it, is possible only when we measure it. Products, at least in our emphasis product-centric working model, are defined as sets of business enterprise capabilities. So you might have a whole set of capabilities that also serve a certain product stream. They all need to deliver value to a user, of course. And products are enabled by these capabilities, either delivered through platforms, which often is the case nowadays, or common services. Integrated business and technology teams are organized then around these products. And when I say integrated, I do mean business and IT and our AI colleagues. These teams are autonomous, persistent, and demonstrate product thinking and innovation, which means in the end, it is one of the things we've been promoting since the 80s, or with Scrum since the 90s, that you should have dedicated teams that take care of a product from its birth, its ideation, until it's sunsetted. So through the whole product life cycle, and not just say bye once you've delivered it and move on to the next shiny thing. And last but not least, Agile and DevOps practices, they act as a foundation. They will not, I mean, we're not fallen out of the system. It's just not what clients are asking for anymore, but we still need it. Agile, DevOps, DevSecOps, and other advanced engineering practices, live engineering, and so on. So these are things we take as foundational for really creating a product org. Let's co-create that shift. And let me tell you, it's not about speed, it's about deliberateness. We need to discover together and get leadership aligned. I mean, alignment is the main thing when we talk about business value, when we talk about our direction. And then we co-create, we co-design in workshops forms this operating model, because while we have this model that I just showed you, we are aware that any organization is like an individual. It's so individual, you need to really take care. You cannot just roll out a blueprint, so this is how a product org works. No, it needs to be set in the context that the particular organization has. And then we can define your specific product taxonomy and your specific product-centric value delivery playbook. And once we've co-created that, we need to make it known to all the leaders, and then through them to all the teams involved, impacted by this. So oftentimes it is enablement that is needed. And it's not just specific roles like product owners or product management. It is indeed leadership, because we all know this shift goes hand in hand with a cultural shift. And yeah, OKRs, if they aren't the normal thing yet in the org, we should really start training people to think in outcomes. And if it's OKRs they use then, or I'm with Scrum, I'm a trainer for evidence-based management, and we also have a lot of metrics that we show. It's all going in the right direction together, outcomes. And when I'm at a client, I will not fight about, is it OKRs or is it EVM, or will we call it still KPIs? I don't care the naming. Let's just think about the outcomes you want to create. And then, of course, you need to implement to be able to scale. Implementing the change does need a dedicated team. I full-heartedly agree with the speaker before me saying that any kind of change, any kind of transformation can be treated like a product development, because it does have a backlog. We create transformation backlogs, and it does need to pay attention to what a sustainable change is. What pace can this org change in? And yeah, we do coaching, we still do coaching on the ways of working as well, because while every big org nowadays will say, oh yeah, agile, been there, done that, we know how that goes, in the end, when we deliver, we do notice where there are pitfalls, where there are misunderstandings, where we really don't do what we thought we were doing when we look at the outcomes. Below all of that, as another foundation really, is organizational change management. And I feel that's the point where we agilists have fallen short so far. We've always gone into the company saying, okay, let's do an agile change to support your digital change. And we were afraid to talk about what it does to the organization. And now it's becoming more and more deliberate. Years ago, when I studied lean change management, or when I studied systemic change management, we already felt like this is normal stuff that is known. Why aren't the agilists also bringing that into the game? So for me, it's very clear, lean and systemic change management to support the organization on this journey. And it does need to be co-created, inspected, and adapted at every step. That's the way to go. And I'd be happy if ACE is happening next year to have a talk on lean and systemic change management, because that's where my heart really resides, in that problem space. So let's come back to what is that shift. It's not about speed, it's about deliberateness. It's about product teams who stay with a product long enough to know it deeply, to care for it deeply. It's about leaders who trust outcomes over timelines or outputs. And it's about choosing transparency over control. It does help to have some accelerators, some assets at the ready. So I'm sure many of you are experts and already have sets of these little accelerators. We for sure have them as well. We start when we enter the system, the client system, by assessing their readiness to become a product org, their path, where they are already, the current state. And we do have ready training content, but we need to adapt it every time to the client's context, the client's existing organization. So you can't just roll over and say, oh, by the way, training, OKRs works like that, and product ownership works like that. Well, it does in some contexts, but this context is specific and special and individual. And yes, then we do create product-centric value delivery playbooks, but again, a playbook is not like, this is how you have to do it, and if you are doing it differently, you're wrong. It's a suggestion, it's an impulse, it's an idea collection, and maybe even an experiment collection. So let's work with that and co-creatively keep inspecting and adapting our playbooks as well. And yes, we do have domain-specific playbooks because we serve such a wide range of industries. It is helpful sometimes when I'm like on an engagement with a bank to look at playbooks from different domains to learn and get some of the knowledge that we created there to another domain. So all I've talked about, all these changes you have to do when you want to become a product org, that's not really the main question. From my point of view, the essential question is, what is the product you, as an organization, exist to serve? And I feel that those organizations that are very successful, a lot of them EV mentioned this morning, that are, of course, digital innovators, firstly, they are so successful because they are very clear on their purpose. They know what they exist to deliver. They know what they exist to serve. And maybe it's the hardest question of all, because focus. But if we don't know what our problem is, the problem we are trying to solve, or even for whom we are trying to solve it, this customer centricity needs to be in product development, as well as the product centricity needs to be in org development, then it will be very hard, and no amount of Agile or DevOps or even AI or operating models will save us. We need to answer these questions. So being a product org isn't about delivery. Yes, value delivery should be product-centric, but the real question is about purpose. So find yours, your organization's purpose, and then shape everything around it. And that's what I brought to you today. I hope this gave you some language for conversations you're probably already having, and maybe it also gave you some questions that will stay with you. I will head off and not be ready for questions later in the break, but if you want to contact me, I'm happy. This QR code sends you to my LinkedIn profile, so I'm happy to connect and answer any and all questions. So let's move past transformation as performance and toward products that really matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Katrin.